This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Oh, how I love being a woman. Welcome to Girl Annotated on OAR FM Youth Zone. Take a seat in our virtual cafe as we indulge each other in feminine-focused issues. Oh my god, it's a customer! Wow, welcome to Girl Annotated, where the coffee is hot and the conversations are hotter. That's right, I'm your barista for today. Would you like a double shot of feminine history? Or perhaps a side of pop culture? A generous sprinkle of film and fashion? Whatever it is, take a seat in our virtual cafe and enjoy. Wow. If you can't tell, your host is a bit nervous today. One, because she has a sore throat, if you can't tell. And number two, because it is actually the very first episode of something that I've been working on for a long time, aka Girl Annotated, my beloved passion project. Oh, let me tell you, it was so hard planning this first episode because I wanted it to be perfect. But at the same time, I didn't know what to write about because I didn't want to just delve into the topics I wanted to talk about. I wanted to do an introduction so that you guys can get to know me better. But, you know, I went through like a lot of problems. Am I the only one who always get so many ideas, but once I have to do the actual thing, those very ideas disappear and you end up procrastinating and you end up scrolling on Pinterest, pinning every single idea to your Pinterest boards, promising that you will lock in, but you never actually do it? Just me? Okay. I seem to be going on a tangent here, but anyways, let me just finally introduce myself. Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. My name is Edelweiss Fatima von Hoffler, but everyone just calls me Edelweiss. So yeah, I'm Edelweiss, aka your host for Girl Annotated. Okay, I see those confused looks. Like I can't actually see you guys in person, but I can envision those confused reactions. It's okay, I'm pretty used to it. But let's just clarify the name before we get started. If you like musicals, like me, you may have heard the name Edelweiss from the iconic musical The Sound of Music. Or maybe you've even heard of The Flower, which the song originated from. It is found in the high mountain areas like European Alps, volcanic terrain in Indonesia, and interestingly, the South Island right here in New Zealand actually has its very own native version called the New Zealand Edelweiss. So I guess it was meant to be for me to arrive here. But despite my European-sounding name, I'm actually Malaysian. Once native to the bustling city of Kuala Lumpur, and around 2.5 years ago, I migrated here to Dunedin in hopes of starting anew. But why make a podcast? Why Girl Annotated? What is Girl Annotated even about? Well, so a bit of background. I'm someone who has always wanted to present my ideas to the world, but for the longest time, I've never been able to find a suitable platform. I've always wanted to get into content creation online, and I know what you're thinking, not another influencer. But hear me out. That's not the kind of content I want to make. About a year ago, I've actually done a podcast here at OAR FM for a school project. It was the Otago Girls Media Studies podcast, where media studies students, they would pair up or go into groups and would take over an episode of the podcast, which they still do actually. But last year, I did mine on film, something that I'm really passionate about. But unfortunately, it was pretty rushed, and I could have done better if I do say if I do say so myself. But that's the thing when you do something for an assessment. You get too focused on the deadline that you forget the initial spark of passion that you had at the very beginning of the project. So, I'm here to redeem myself. Circling back to content creation, when I arrived here in Dunedin, my mom really wanted me to make a podcast. For context, me and my mom, we love to cook together. And when I'm cooking with my mother in the kitchen, I go on super long rants. Like I turn into Yapper 3000 because I have so much opinions, like I said just now, but sometimes I'm afraid to share those opinions. And she's the only person I can rely on to share these very opinions, whether it be cultural, political, historical. Sometimes I just turn into a nerd. But yeah, shout out to my mom for always listening to my film, book, and political rants. So she told me, Edelweiss, you should make a podcast. This is like your thing. And I was like, I could never. How am I supposed to talk for that long? And then she just stares at me and she's like, girl, what do you think you're doing in the kitchen right now? But I kept making excuses until, alas, one day I was humoring myself with the thought of making a podcast. If I were to make a podcast, potentially, what would I talk about? I was like, I don't know. And I gave up. And so I, as one does, I grabbed my phone, started scrolling. Coincidentally, the moment I opened the app, I saw a reel. And it was a feminist complaining about something that was happening. And like something important happening. And I agreed with her. But the moment that I opened the app, the moment I opened the comments, I saw all these negative comments from a lot of people in the big 26. And it had me thinking, wow, maybe we still need feminism. Because initially, I've always had this view that modern feminism can be a bit too much, but I've never considered a lot of different aspects of it. I mean, have you seen the way that women get a lot of hate online? Or how the world is currently still run by greedy capitalist men? In my humble opinion, we still very much need feminism. We genuinely do. In the state of the world that we live in, of course, these kind of topics can be heavy and tiring. What kind of sane person watches the news with a wide grin on their face? That's just crazy. But truthfully, as someone who is always trying to be updated in the world and tries to involve myself in human rights, I still get absolutely exhausted, especially when the first post I see is, for example, genocide happening in Palestine or whatever is happening in America. It either makes me cry or it makes me absolutely mad. No place in between. It really is a lot to take in. So when I do feel like this, like any other teenager, I will scroll past all of the important things happening in the world. And instead, I watch videos on film or cute outfits, internet drama. It's entertaining. It really is. Guilty as charged. I know it's not good to ignore the important realities of the world. And so, it suddenly hit me. What if I made a podcast about fun, feminine things, fashion, pop culture, film, etc., but then dive deeper into them and connect these things to the underlying issues of those very same things that we enjoy, culture, politics, history, in a way, educating young women through exploring the very things that we, young women, love. But yeah, I don't want people to think the term feminism means angry liberal woman. Through Girl Annotated, I want to be able to shed onto, also, this is another thing that I really want to do, is that I really want to shed onto different perspectives of feminism. Because there's so much more to feminism that we feminists ourselves can learn and improve. Also, especially if you look at mainstream feminism, I'd say mainstream feminism focuses mostly on white women. But what about those different versions of feminism in different cultures and religions and different perspectives? For example, I consider myself to be a feminist, but sometimes mainstream, or a better word for it would be Oriental feminism, doesn't apply to me as a hijabi woman. What I mean is that a lot of feminists would sometimes exclude hijabis because they see the hijab as something oppressive, when in reality, I can easily express myself through my version of feminism, which is being modest. Being modest is my choice, the same way that another woman may choose to wear something sexy. Both sides of the coin are pretty valid. And in the end, when someone critiques a woman for what they wear, regardless of if they are sexy or modest, it goes against what feminism stands for. Also, can I just say, there are so many beautiful hijabi women online. Where did this myth come from? The ridiculous notion that the hijab prevents you from being free. But yeah, throughout our journey here at Girl Annotated, I'll be sure to include all different perspectives. And sometimes maybe we might have opinions that clash, especially because I'll be inviting a lot of special guests here. So we want Girl Annotate to be a safe space, and we accept opinions and sometimes maybe challenge different opinions. But in the end, all opinions are valid. Yeah. I want this podcast to be a thing, a project, where we can be able to just enjoy ourselves and talk about the little things that we love, while at the same time not blatantly ignoring the important issues of our world. So keep in mind that when you step into our Feminine Focus Cafe, there are 2 rules that you have to follow. Number 1, keep an open mind. Like I said, we have to respect all opinions and perspectives, especially because soon, you will be hearing the voices of a lot of special guests on my podcast. So stay tuned for that. And number 2, we're just here to have fun. I want Girl Annotated to be whimsical, innovative, creative, just a beautiful space for us intelligent ladies. Oh, that was a bit loud. Another important thing, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Why, you ask? Because, dear listener, you can be part of the podcast by sharing your own opinions, voting for what conversations we'll have in future episodes, and finding out more about our future special guests. That's girl_annotated on Instagram. Okay. Now that I've hopefully painted a clear illustration of Girl Annotated, to fill up some time in the podcast, the first thing that we're going to do is that I have a box of ice-breaking questions. They're not really ice-breaking questions. It's more like questions that I will answer so that you can get to know me better. And I will pick around 3, maybe? We'll see. Depends on how much time we have. But basically, I'll answer these questions so that you guys can get to know me just a bit more. I just want to familiarize myself with you guys. Okay. Let's begin. I'm just going to grab one of them. Also, fun fact, I didn't write any of these. My friends were the ones who actually thought of these questions for me. So even I don't know what's in here. Hopefully they didn't write anything silly. Okay. A little ASMR. A little ASMR for you guys. Okay. First question. Why is your name Edelweiss? So basically, I've lived in Malaysia my entire life, and I'm half Malaysian, half German American. So German American on my dad's side and Malaysian on my mother's side. But I've always grown up with the Malaysian part because I live with my mom and not my dad. I live with my mom and my stepdad. And my stepdad is actually from Sudan. So you can imagine it's a pretty multicultural house. And the reason why I'm named Edelweiss is because that's what my biological dad and my mom had in mind before I was born. My mom watched The Sound of Music and she basically just fell in love with it. And I'm not really connected to my German American side. I don't really know that much German culture, but I'd love to learn. I'd love to learn more about that side of my heritage. But I am more knowledgeable on the Malaysian side, and I love my Malaysian culture. And also the Sudanese culture, even though I'm not Sudanese by blood, I know a lot because of my stepdad, who I love so much. Okay. Next question. Okay. Okay. Why do you sing? Okay, that sounds so you as the audience obviously don't know, but I'm someone who really likes to sing, and I'm by no means a professional singer, but I have been taking some vocal lessons at school, and I'm in my school choir, and I was involved with my school production, which was a couple of weeks ago. It was a beautiful experience, and I love to perform for fun Malaysian traditional songs for my school's cultural day. I'm really excited to perform once again in August. But yeah, I'm by no means someone who is knowledgeable in professional singing, but I love singing as a hobby. And yeah, singing is just my way of connecting. Oh, this is a good story. So I have lived in Malaysia my entire life, but I was never really interested in my culture. You know, like some people, I think that a lot of people can relate to this, but a lot of people sometimes can't connect with their culture and they're ashamed of their culture. I wouldn't say that I was ashamed of my culture, but I wasn't really connected to it. And I had this traditional Malay singing competition when I lived in Malaysia. When I was about 16 years old, I joined because I wanted to try this thing out. And so I had to sing a song that I've never heard before. And I had to research that song. And I fell into this rabbit hole of Malay traditional music, which is so beautiful because if you don't know, Malaysia is a country that has different cultures, Chinese, Indian, Malay, and we have roots from all over the world. And that's the way our language is built, and that's the way our music is built. So if you listen to Malay traditional music, sometimes you can spot some elements from different cultures, which is so cool. And so yeah, I think that's where my passion for singing came from, my passion for culture came from, and that was the moment where I fell in love with my culture all over again. Yeah. Okay. Third question. Okay. Third and final question. Let's go. Okay. Interesting. What was the hardest challenge that you had to face when you first came to New Zealand? Ooh. I'm getting flashbacks. So if you okay, so when I first came to New Zealand, I had no idea what New Zealand. I had no idea of New Zealand. Like I didn't know anything about New Zealand, and so you can imagine my shock when I came to the airport. I arrived at the Christchurch airport, I believe, 2.5 years ago, and keep in mind that I've lived in Malaysia my entire life. And this was my first time moving to a completely new country. I was a city girl before. Malaysia's population is very big. And New Zealand's population is, let's just say there's a stark contrast. So I came to New Zealand. And the first thing I see is like a little fun fact on the airport wall. And it says, did you know that in New Zealand there are more sheep than people? I saw that and I was like, what the? But, you know, I was wrong because, okay, yes, I do miss the city and I miss my friends from my old country. But one thing that I love about New Zealand is that despite like the small population, the people here are so warm. You guys are such heartwarming people because you guys greet whoever you guys meet with such kindness. And that's how I felt when I first came to Dunedin and I went to Otago Girls High School. I was happy and I am still happy now. So yeah, I hope that answers all of my friends' ice-breaking questions that they helped me with. Thank you guys. But now, I think it's time for a little break. So, there you have it, some Edelweiss lore. Now, before we move on to our next topic, it's time for a little break, like I said just now, aka time to infect the airwaves with my favorite songs. The first one is a song that you've probably heard before. It is The Cure from Olivia Rodrigo, which is specifically from her new album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love, which is such a great album. It's been my latest obsession. And the second song is Labor by Paris Paloma. Also a really good one, but also very intense. I have a very interesting story that I will share later because it relates to the song. Pay attention to the lyrics if you've never heard of it. So, without further ado, let's get into Olivia Rodrigo's The Cure. Whoa, absolute chills. I hope you guys enjoyed those two tracks. I know I sure did. Now, as promised, let's unpack my short story that I was talking about just now in the first part of the podcast, which is none other than the song Labor by Paris Paloma. So before I dive deep into the song and talk about the story that I have about this song, a bit of a trigger warning. It's nothing too much, but I just need to warn you guys. There will be some mentions of gender abuse. But yeah, gender abuse and a bit of domestic abuse. So keep that in mind, but it's nothing too heavy. We're just mentioning it. But if you're uncomfortable, please take a pause or maybe just skip this part. Anyways, back to the topic. If you can't tell, this is my first time being a host. I'm still trying to pick up that host lingo. Anyways, the song is an absolute banger, Labor by Paris Paloma. I love it so much. But also, it's a lot to take in. If you can't tell the meaning behind the song, it's about women who are being forced to work. It's about women who have experienced violence from their husbands. It's about a mother trying to protect her child from her abusive husband. Essentially, Paris touches on a lot of different types of labor that women go through. So, as I said earlier, I love to sing, and I'm part of my school choir. And a couple of weeks ago, my school choir, Nautilus Chorale, competed at the Big Sing. And to those who don't know what that is, it's basically a choir competition that happens in New Zealand. And a couple of weeks ago, we attended the first round, which was held at the town hall. And it was a really good experience. It was really fun. But at the same time, it was really, really long, like the whole day. But it was still worth it. But one of the highlights was something I did not expect at all. Nearing the end of the competition, there was this one school, Timara Girls High School, I believe, that performed the very song Labor by Paris Paloma. And you see, the thing about this choir competition is that we have to sing like 3 songs. The first song is usually a classical song, which can be boring sometimes. The second one is a New Zealand piece. And the third is a fun song. So you can imagine how everyone was feeling at this point of the competition. We were so tired. But the moment that Timara Girls High School got to their fun song, aka, you know what it is, Labor by Paris Paloma, everybody in the crowd, including me, who was yawning and just on the verge of falling asleep and just hoping that the competition would finally end, we immediately woke up. My heart was literally racing. I kid you not. The moment they started singing, especially because they were such a huge choir. Usually the choirs would be around 2 to 3 rows of students, but this choir was like at least 4 rows of singers. Talented singers, I must say. So, with the intensity of the song and how loud they were and how talented they were, you can imagine how they just immediately captured everyone's attention. And it doesn't stop there, because you know how this song is pretty repetitive, right? Like the part where it's like all day, every day, therapist, mother, maid. Suddenly, when they were repeating that part, some of the girls came out of the lines and started doing a haka, while the other girls continued singing. And I was so amazed because the haka fits so perfectly with the vibe of the song. It ultimately embodied the message of what Paris Paloma had been writing. At this point, my heart was beating like crazy. I loved it so much. I practically whipped my head around to my sister who was sitting behind me, and I was like, they're playing my song. But yeah, I loved it. My school loved it. Everyone loved it. I cannot emphasize that enough. And you know what was the craziest part? Yes, there's more to it. So, after the competition, one of the girls from the school, Timara Girls High School, posted a video of their performance on TikTok, and it went viral. The TikTok video had around 1.9 million views. And the moment you open the comment section, you'll see the top comment by none other than singer-songwriter Paris Paloma herself. And she even commented, incredible, heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji. But think about it, for a school in New Zealand, that's so amazing. I mean, imagine being recognized internationally for your performance that you worked so hard for. I wanted to include this in my first episode because I think that everything about this event is just so sweet. Like, there was such a vibe of girlhood, if I do say so myself. But yeah, not just that, but the song itself, it's beautiful. And one thing that I'd like to mention is that Paris Paloma isn't a famous artist. She's an indie artist, I think. I'm not so sure, but she's an underrated artist. And the moment she wrote this song, you could see her passion flowing through the lyrics and the music and everything about it. And that's why it ended up trending online, because of the meaning of the song. A lot of women could relate to it, which is why I think it's so important to use your platform, which is why I'm doing Girl Annotated, because I want to share my opinions on feminism. Because when you use your platform, other people can see what you're doing. It's just amazing. But yeah, a lot of women could relate to Paris's song. And then at the Big Sing, we see Timara Girls High School, whose passion was recognized online by embedding their Mari culture with the song, making it their own version of the song, their own version of feminism, which I find so interesting. But yeah, as someone who loves culture, I just appreciate the way that these girls aren't shy to express their own interpretation of feminism. You guys should definitely check it out on TikTok, their performance. Then you'll finally understand where I'm coming from. But let's go back to the lyrics of the song and unpack it a little, because it's really interesting and I think it's worth talking about. So let me read the lyrics. This isn't the entire song, but I'll just read my favorite part, and in my opinion, the most compelling part of the song. I'm not going to sing it. I'm just going to read it. Like a poem. Okay. Apologies from my tongue, and never yours. Busy lapping from the flowing cup, and stabbing with your fork. I know you're a smart man, and weaponize the false incompetence, its dominance under a guise. If we had a daughter, I'd watch and could not save her. The emotional torture from the head of your high table. She'd do what you taught her. She'd meet the same cruel fate. So now I've got to run so I can undo this mistake. At least I've got to try. The capillaries in my eyes are bursting. If our love died, would that be the worst thing? For somebody I thought was my savior, you sure make me do a whole lot labor. The callous skin on my hands is cracking. If our love ends, would that be a bad thing? And the silence haunts our bed chamber. You make me do too much labor. All day, every day, therapist, mother, maid, nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant, just an appendage, live to attend him so that he never lifts a finger. 24/7 baby machine, so he can live out his picket fence dreams. It's not an act of love if you make her. You make me do too much labor. Wow. I myself got chills from just reading that. Let me just say, top tier lyrics, AI could never. But the part that sticks out the most to me is definitely the chorus when she says, nymph then a virgin, nurse then a servant, just an appendage, live to attend him so that he never lifts a finger. I love it because I immediately get emotional and I feel the vibe of the song and I just get into character. But more importantly, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there is actually a double meaning behind the phrase, never lifts a finger. Paris shows how hard that women need to work so their so-called partner won't have to work. But it also hints at household abuse. Never lifts a finger, as in he won't raise his hand and essentially slap her or worse. And it's really sad because if you really think about it, a lot of women are seen as a tool rather than a partner who completes each other's flaws. It's just sad because how are you expected to build a loving family when all you experience is hell, harmed by someone you once loved? But yeah, gender-based violence and household violence, it's a big ongoing issue. But that's why I also appreciate this song. It brings a lot of awareness about gender-based violence and it handles pretty heavy themes, but in a very, I don't want to say beautiful, but in a very clever and sophisticated way. As as one does when one writes about a song. I feel like songs are more beautiful and songs are more enjoyable when it's not just a love song or a breakup song, but rather a passionate way of speaking up against something. Yeah, I really jive with songs like that. But yeah, see what happens when you give a woman a microphone? She gets the job done. But yeah, thank you for bearing with my tangent on one of my favorite songs. Trust me, the tangents won't be getting any shorter from now on. For our next episode, we'll be diving more into the songwriter of the other song we played during that break. Can you guess who it is? That's right. You've probably heard of her, the talented Miss Olivia Rodrigo. I won't tell you guys what the episode is about just yet, but just know that Olivia will be a big part of it. I might drop some hints and polls here and there on Instagram, so maybe you'll find out through that. Another shameless plug for Girl Annotated on Instagram. Go check it out. But I will end this episode with a beautiful poem by none other than the legend herself, Maya Angelou. If you don't know who Maya Angelou is, but I'm pretty sure you've heard of her name before. She's a very prominent figure in feminism and racial equality, but she is someone who has experienced the same abuse that we've mentioned today previously. But she is a talented author, and she has raised so much awareness through her writing. She has a lot of famous books, but today I will be reading a poem that she has from her poem titled Phenomenal Woman. So here goes nothing. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model's size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. It's so beautiful. It has nothing to do with what we were talking about just now, but I think it's a fun way to end the very first episode of Girl Annotated. But yeah, if you liked what we talk about today, I promise there's going to be way more deep dives and more interesting topics in our following episodes. But if you enjoyed what we talked about today, perhaps you'll enjoy more of Girl Annotated. So thank you. Thank you for just listening to my tangents today. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for joining us on Girl Annotated. Check out our Instagram at girl_annotated and look out for our latest episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on oar.org.nz. See you next time.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.